G'day everyone and welcome to the Trekzone Spotlight, continuing the coverage of Axanar, the settlement, with today's guest. His name is Mr. Christian Gossett, the director of Prelude to Axanar. Well, since our chat last year, Christian has moved to the City of Angels, Los Angeles. He joins me there now. Christian, thanks so much for your time.
It's great to be back, Matt. Thank you.
So, Christian, look, you did direct Prelude to Axanar, and that was a little blip on your radar there, but you have done other things. You are a very successful director and producer, and you're living in Hollywood now. What's on the radar for you at the moment?
When last we spoke, I was working in Wellington on an animated feature at Mechanic Animation. I had a great time. And now I'm in Los Angeles working on another animated feature, this one several times larger, but that's all good. It's having a great time back in town. I miss everybody in Wellington. I'm great, very, very close friends there. And I'd miss them like hell. But I have family here too, so it's great to be back and working on a very large picture. I'm not bragging, I'm just really happy about it.
All right, well, let's move on to the reason that we're all here, Axanar, the settlement. What are your thoughts on that decision?
We haven't got that long, Matt.
I'll extend the booking if we need to, but the dot points, what are the dot points for your feelings?
It's a pretty simple story. People from around the world trusted Alec with somewhere between $1 and $2 million to make a movie. The money's gone, and there is no movie. They're upset. It's really that simple.
Well, look, we spoke last year about the whole thing that came about and how you got involved with the project and the way things quickly deteriorated once there was a clash of opinions. Now that Alec has been cleared to make Axanar and he has this studio, do you think it's a valuable commodity for him and it's going to be his cash cow to make this feature?
Wow. It'll remain to be seen what happens with the Axanar films. It's a matter of public record that, and in his own words was said, I'm paraphrasing now, I'm sure that you guys can correct me. You heard this quote, right, Matt? It was either the studio is the end game or the end game is the studio. You've heard that?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so in his own words, that was the goal, and that's why he was fortunate to get a settlement, because that really shouldn't have been the goal. The goal should have been to make the best fan film and, as we did with Prelude, get all that money up on the screen.
And that was the big difference too, wasn't it? As we said last year, pretty much everyone behind the scenes that worked on Prelude didn't continue on with the feature, and that's really why it fell apart, didn't it?
We were good friends, Alec and I, for 15 years, and he asked me to show him the ropes. He had been on the set of one of my first short film, had watched me do it, met me at conventions many times when I was touring the country and the world for The Red Star, my graphic novel. We talked many times about the life of the creative professional and what it would be like, and when he decided to do this, he asked me to show him the ropes. And when he listened, things worked out. When he stopped listening to me, he hung himself with the ropes.
Well, since the settlement announcement last week, he's been on a social media rampage, emailing people and really honing in this message that don't despair, donors, things aren't as they seem. We will be finding ways to make this feature. Do you think that he's going to follow through with that, or is it going to be the same thing again? He's going to make all these promises in the world and just fall flat on his face again?
It's hard to predict what he's going to do. I at one time thought that I knew what he was going to do, and at one point he was capable of listening to people around him that knew how to make things. And then once that changed, now I really don't know the guy. And, it is, considering how generous CBS and Paramount were in allowing this case to be settled, when they really could have taken it all the way. Once fair use was no longer in play, and once the finances were going to be shown to the jury and the public, they really could have ran this through, but they didn't. Despite the relentless battering that CBS and Paramount received from Alec Peters' loyalists throughout the case, throughout the lawsuit, they were very generous to him when it comes down to it. And now he's kind of trying to, show that, make this a win for him and his followers. And it's kind of sad, really.
Do you think he expected to win?
If he expected to win, he wouldn't have settled.
Well, he was carrying on a lot there about things are going to be taken to the 9th District Court judges, and there's going to be appeals on decisions, and things are going to be absolutely crazy. I want my day in court. Why did he settle, do you think?
I can't pretend to know why he settled, but if he thought he could win, he would not have settled.
I did hear a comment, I think it was from a loyalist, an Axanar, as we might call them, that it was all about bad publicity for CBS and Paramount, and they were really feeling the pressure, and the pressure was getting to them that CBS and Paramount were these really bad people that can't even produce their own Star Trek series now. There's been delay upon delay with Discovery. I'd prefer that with the knowledge that there is a good series coming than getting it as soon as possible and it really being an Axanar feature film in terms of quality. Can I say that without sounding too partial?
It's all out there. That's the thing. There is no, and that's what I would call a smear campaign. I know that Alec talks about how he's been the victim of a smear campaign, but the Axanar followers have been, the Alec Peters followers really, they've been on a smear campaign constantly, as you just stated, and as is clearly obvious in social media all year long. This smear campaign is saying these things that really, the sad part is, it's just inaccurate. It's just inaccurate. It's just not true. And people are speaking about things that they really don't have any knowledge of. It's very difficult to make that show. Star Trek is an incredibly difficult show to make. I have such an immense respect for Star Trek now, I liked the show before I made 15 minutes of it and had the good fortune to be working with some of the people that had worked on the show before. But after having made even just 20 minutes of Star Trek, I can say that it is an incredibly difficult, challenging, and rewarding thing to do, even in an amateur capacity or semi-professional capacity as we were. It's amazing. Just the makeup alone. Let me just geek out here a little bit. This is the Trek Zone, Matt. I'm going to go a little Trek here, all right?
Excellent.
When you put on the makeup, when we put on Richard Hatch's makeup, for example, the moment you put on that makeup, and I didn't realize this, that complex of a makeup, beautifully done by Kevin Haney and Brad Look and Gary Perticone, beautifully done. That makeup, it just doesn't sit there. It isn't just shellacked on there and immobile and just perfect at a moment's notice. It is a delicate orchid that is melting the moment it's perfect. So and imagine that over 15 Klingons on a set that has to go all day long under way more lights, doing far more complex choreography than we were doing. If you do that math in your head, just that little bit right there, if you can allow that to multiply in your mind, you understand and respect the immensity of a Star Trek production. And it really goes to show how much love there is for Trek, that fans all over the world are attempting to create fan Trek. And I hold them completely separate than Alec Peters and his operation. That's a completely different thing. And as Judge Klausner agreed, Judge Klausner said, look, this is a commercial work. It's not fair use. So that makes it separate. Federal judge said it, not me. Makes it separate from all the other fan works, which are done from an incredible sense of love, that don't require studios, that don't require millions of dollars to make it. Just love and just blood, sweat, and tears. It's a very different operation than what was happening.
Yeah, and I think the best example of what you're talking about there would be Starship Intrepid films in the UK. I'm not sure if you've seen any of their shorts, but Nick Cook and those guys have really embraced where they are and the beautiful locations that they've got. And they're shooting on location, and there was a Romulan there that they were doing some ears and some eyebrows with. But a lot of their cast are human. They're experimenting with green screen now, with track mats and all that sort of stuff, and it absolutely looks fantastic. Sure, it doesn't look like an official Trek production, but that's never been the thing about Star Trek fan films.
That's right.
I mean, counterpoint that with New Voyages and Continues, where they do have the sets, and we've got James Cawley and Vic Mignogna playing Kirk, and they're doing these things, and they look fantastic. But that's sort of where this happy medium lies, and Star Trek fan films are in that genre, and people are watching for the stories, not necessarily about $1 million worth of special effects.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm happy that the fan films are going to survive this. They're going to survive this incident.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it certainly was very rocky there for a period, and thankfully Paramount and CBS created the guidelines, which again the loyalists have turned on their head and said that nothing can be done now. They've shut us down. It's terrible. They should have done what Star Wars did. But Star Wars is actually far more restrictive on their fans creating works than Star Trek is.
Yeah, definitely. This would be, I'm telling you, the generosity of CBS and Paramount in their pursuit of this situation. Somebody sits there and makes between $1 and $2 million and sets about making a studio from that money that they can make other productions from. They were incredibly generous in the way that they dealt with this.
I just want to iterate something as well, that you were the director on Prelude to Axanar, but you really can't use that as a guide of what Axanar the feature was going to become, mainly because, as we've said in our previous chat and in this one as well, where a lot of the production stuff had left. So this quality and good-looking intro to the feature is completely different, and it's going to be like stepping back in time in quality and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we had really wonderful dreams about what the feature could have been. And it wasn't long after the money came in from Prelude that we realized that was going to be difficult. The main difference between Prelude and Axanar I've gone over many times, and I don't need to belabor it. But one of the key things was Alec was listening to people that knew production, that were veterans of production, that knew how to take money and get it on the screen. And he thought that once that money came in from Prelude, he thought he could do it without those key personnel, those A players. And I don't care how good of a coach you are, if you get rid of your A players, you're just a coach. You can't play all the positions, especially when you have never played any of the positions. So what's going to happen to all that money? It's going to get spent on things that it shouldn't be getting spent on. And it's not going to get on the screen. I don't know where it went. That's been the purview of the court, and they've made their decision based on what they saw. And I don't have access to all those expenditures. I can say that when I was there, despite my protests, money was not being spent the way it needed to be spent on a production. It's really simple, actually. The money came in, immediately you start doing makeup tests. Immediately you start designing things. You don't start getting rid of the people that got you there. There's a saying. It's a real old-timey American saying. You dance with who brung you. And you know what? The crew of Prelude and the cast of Prelude, like Tony Todd, we brung everybody to that show. And then, after that, we were treated, we weren't danced with. We were told, we were dismissed, essentially. In many, many different ways, we were dismissed. I was no longer listened to. And the thing is, it's no skin off of my nose, which is why I just walked off the show. It's like, look, if you're not going to listen to me, go with God. Do the show any way you want, but I'm not going to stick around. Not when this was a blast. We were working together. It was awesome. But listen, do the show any way you want. But
In an alternate reality, let's throw a hypothetical out there, and things stayed kosher between Alec and the production staff on Prelude. That was 2, 3, even 4 years ago now, I think was Prelude.
2014.
2014.
Prelude.
So we're coming up to the 3rd anniversary of Prelude's release. Do you think if you'd have stayed on board and Alec had to listen to the advice that was being given to him, and he didn't rent out a warehouse to convert it into a soundstage to make a business, do you think we'd have an Axanar feature film right now and guidelines for other fan films?
Without a doubt, 100%. Axanar would have been done. It would have been amazing. We should have launched right into it. We had plenty of money. We had the team in place. We had enough of a script to stumble around with. We should have started spending on the makeup tests. We should have looked around, made an agreement, probably with Ben Catay. Ben Catay are the stages we shot Prelude on. Could have gone right back to them and said, hey, got this fan film, got all this money, can we work something out? There are so many sound stages around town we could have worked out a great deal with. Los Angeles is built for production. They don't need any more sound stages. We could have gone immediately to them, made a great deal, as we advised, and had a great film. And it would have been great and done, would have been done and dusted, but it didn't go that way. But yeah, no, there's definitely a mirror universe. We're in the mirror universe. There's another universe where it gets done and everything just stays on track. But yeah.
Do you think also too that there was a point there where there was some shots taken on James Colley's New Voyages sets? Would that have even been an option? I understand that they're in upstate New York, but would that even have been an option? Because Star Trek is famous for redressing sets to make it look like other sets, and using standing sets and using what you've got to save money and get it done. Would that even have been an option? Would putting actors up from LA, putting them up in New York, have been a cheaper option than the way Alec went?
Well, you just didn't need to. We already had everything going. We had a crew, we had a cast. It would have been expensive to fly that cast and crew east. You don't need to. We'd already shown what could be done. We had already created a promise to the donors in the form of Prelude to Axanar. One of the things it did was it acted as a promise to the donors. Hey, look, this is a crew, this is a cast, this is a take on the original series timeline. If you want more of this, send money, and we will do it. But then that money came in, and from the very first night, that dinner Saturday night after the premiere at San Diego in 2014, immediately Alec was talking about improving the team by changing personnel, and I was like, whoa, what are you talking about? This team just won you the championship. This team just made something that has the bells ringing on Indiegogo, a Kickstarter. On Kickstarter, what are you talking about? Why? There's nothing broken that needs fixing. But that was the first of many conversations like that, wherein I was basically just whereas once I was listened to, now I was being dismissed. So, I was like, all right, man, good luck with that.
Do you think the part of the settlement was that some actors, including J.G. Hertzler and Richard Hatch, are going to be allowed to, and Robert Burnett Meyer will be allowed to work on the feature? Do you think Robert probably will, but do you think any of the actors are going to want to work on this very toxic production now?
I don't know. I've been asking myself the same question, and I really don't know. I don't have any ill will toward the actors. It was wonderful to work with them, and if they want to, that's up to them. I don't know where they're at. I can't speak for them. I loved working with each one of them. Each one of them was amazing. I have a great respect and gratitude to Tony Todd for saying what he has said in the days since the end of the show and since the lawsuit and since he left this show. And that's about all I'd have to say about that.
What are your feelings on Alec being able to keep the studio that was made from donor funds on Star Trek IP?
It is merely proof as to the generosity of CBS and Paramount. They didn't have to let him keep that studio. He built it with their money. They let him keep it. That proves wrong all of the hate that they have received from people that bought into the David and Goliath narrative. The David and Goliath narrative is completely unfounded in reality.
They could have done whatever they wanted, and something that Eric Gardner said to me a couple of days ago when I had a chat with him from the Hollywood Reporter, he said that they could have taken this all the way, and they could have demanded hundreds of millions of dollars from Alec, but they never would have received a cent because he doesn't have that money. So they really just came about, and yeah, they could have driven him into the ground, but they chose not to, and I think that just goes to show that it was all about the lies and the lies that Alec was telling about all of this. I mean, look, in a totally unbiased manner, I wish him all the best, but I just don't see how he's going to pull this off. He's not going to do it because history has shown that he can't do it.
It's going to be entertaining, but not for the people who lost money. I really want to take this moment to personally apologize to all the donors, including friends of mine who donated at every level, and some of them over $10,000. Sincerely apologize to them, and to all of them. I hope that there is some kind of compensation that they receive, because 2 webisodes is not what they were buying into, not what they were donating toward, and at the very least, and this is a pretty poor excuse for a silver lining, but at the very least, I'd like to say that anybody following the story, please take this as a case study in how not to behave. You look at a James Cawley, and that's your model. You look at a Vic Mignogna, that's your model. You look at all the other fan productions with integrity, with humility, with sincerity, continuing to make great fan Trek. That's your model. This a strange incident with this very angry person, that's not the model, but it is useful as a case study.
Absolutely. Well, Christian, look, we've got to wrap it up, but I reckon we should have another chat, and we should chat about your work outside of Axanar, and it's not just your life. It was a blip on your radar, a fantastic blip, but yeah, it's dragged on to be this massive thing. So I look forward to chatting to you again, Christian.
Thanks so much for getting everybody. It's been really wonderful to watch the Trekzone podcasts and see the story. You and Carlos making sure that the story gets told in a way that is objective and has nothing to gain either way. So thanks for that.